Yeah.
You're
All
about
right.
to,
All right.
especially if you're about to drop something in the.
Yeah. Well, this is like this is the most appropriate meme that I can
Mm,
find for the space.
okay.
Right. So the trench coat totem pole. You should like Google it and like grab an image or whatever and
Okay.
like share screen. But as soon as you'll see it, you'll remember it because it's been on every cartoon you've ever seen in your entire life. Right.
All right. Okay.
Whether it's little kids
Oh
or
yeah.
fucking dogs,
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
gets, they stack up on top of each other's
Right.
shoulders like a
Oh yeah.
totem pole. And
Great.
they put on mom and dad's trench coat and the
Yeah.
hat and the sunglasses,
Yeah.
and they pretend to be a grown up, right? This is exactly what we need to do, right?
Uh-huh.
We need to put on a trench, we need to stack
That's
up, we need to federate, we need to put on a guise that makes us legible as adults
mm-hmm.
for the rest of the adulting world, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
in that
Interesting.
way, that 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 might we might become legible, right? And it might be
Mm-hmm.
more than just like, oh yeah, Alex is doing his thing and I'm doing my thing, but then like to actually figure out, okay, what is the
It's the big
logo,
thing. It's the
what is
big
the
thing. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is like, because it has to, as much as I hate it, right? So
Yeah.
Regens Unite is not, to me, I like the logo, like for real. I
Yeah.
really love the logo. It feels like chaos magic to me. So yeah,
Yeah.
the logo's
Great.
great. But at the same time, I don't give a fuck about the logo, right? Like, it's who cares? Like, who
Whatever.
cares?
Yeah. 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 That's it. That's it.
Like,
That's it.
it's not about my logo. It's like
No.
about, can we do this thing, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
we're
Yeah. Yeah.
doing this thing,
Fully.
right?
Fully. Fully.
It's the actual Regens uniting
Yeah.
that I'm
Yeah.
excited about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but to be visible and legible to the outside world, right?
Yeah. You need a thing.
It has to look a certain way. It has to have a certain sort of like, oh, that thing, right?
Yeah. Right.
Which
Right.
is so, which on one hand, like most of that shit is bullshit. You
Mm,
know it, I know it. You
mm-hmm.
know, most of that shit is, I it takes this sort of like hubris and the type of insanity to want to like put on that guise of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Mm,
But like if we can really like look each other in the face and go, hey, Alex, like we're gonna play this game
mm-hmm.
and we're gonna get over on these fuckers, and this
Mm-hmm.
is how we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do it. And you know, you ain't changed, I ain't changed. Like inside the residency, like it's just us.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
like to as we communicate to those fuckers, like, all right, it's got to look that way. Fine, fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
Right?
right. Totally. Totally. No, that's the way. That's the way. I mean, this is also this is the same. I'm on this exact same track, man. I'm on the exact same track. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, it does this is the signal to gather a bunch of people to figure out what is the greatest signal to be able to then pull in the rest of the people to be able to then pull in any and whatever it is, whatever it becomes, doesn't even need to be like, as you're saying, like one thing. It's This is kind of where I'm pointing to around like creating an ecosystem that all begins to look and feel the same way. So like rather
Mm-hmm.
than say like, because there's obviously, you're right, in some ways like one thing would be just like big ass trench coat goes over the whole thing. It has its own logo. It's like a it's
Mm-hmm.
like it literally looks like a corporation. Or there's the other option of it being this ecosystem of things that then has a kind of like, it has its own style, but they're all also
Mm.
coordinated like an ecosystem. You know, that so like this is partly where I'm getting with this whole vibe mixing thing, is that we're playing with aesthetics as well, playing with
Word.
what's attractive, what's the pieces that are, you know.
Exactly. So there's one particular aspect that is sort of salient for me
Mm,
in recent times, and that is the way the grammar behind like a coat of arms,
mm,
right?
mm, mm,
Like so,
mm.
because there's your thing, there's my thing, and the way, like there must be a way to like readapt that grammar so that we can
Yeah,
show our relationships, right? We can
right.
show like the area or sector that we give a fuck about, like
Yeah,
the people that we're actually like our contemporaries within a specific geography, right?
the things that
So
we've pledged our swords towards as well, right? Yeah.
bam,
Mm,
fucking
mm.
fire, exactly this, right? Exactly this, right? But because in some ways, like what you're describing is definitely like it can't be, I don't think, I mean, just to speak for myself honestly, like no matter what the logo is, fuck
Uh,
you.
uh.
Like, at the end of the day, like, fuck you.
Yeah,
Like, I don't want to wear your logo, man. I
yeah,
want to
yeah,
do my
yeah.
own thing, right?
Right, right, right. Yeah, this is it.
And yeah, exactly. Like,
This is the this is
and
the
at the same
individualistic
time,
conditioning as well. This is the really tricky part to get around.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. And at the flip side, I also don't feel good about about even asking you to wear my logo. Like, I don't,
Mm, mm,
it's like,
mm.
it's just not the vibe, man. It's not the vibe. It's not going to be like, come be under my fucking umbrella,
Mhm,
whatever. Like,
mhm.
we were just talking, there's an infinite number of Discord servers,
Yeah,
fucking Slack channels, like ecosystems of fucking allies. They are
yeah,
innumerable. Oh my fucking Christ. I literally tried to count all the fucking Discord and Slack channels and
yeah. Wow.
Telegram groups. I cannot fucking count them all.
Yeah,
And every
yeah.
time I just bumped into, what are these nerds? The Permacoach collab bumped me into fucking GRC. And I'm like, oh my God, these guys are fucking good, good. Like, holy shit. And I only know one person of the 40 people on this fucking call, but they've been doing this thing like at a fucking high level.
Oh,
Like,
really?
and that keeps happening every fucking time. I keep the deeper I go in, the more I realize the roster of fucking regens is incredibly deep.
Oh,
And
wow.
like, the proficiency of these motherfuckers is incredible. Like, so we're everywhere. Like,
Uh-huh.
and yet we're distributed in such a way that, like,
No
how
one
the
sort of
fuck do we
knows.
come together and
Yeah, yeah,
actually do the
yeah.
uniting?
Right, right. Totally, totally. How do you make these like little caves into, how do you make the little tunnels that go between the caves, right? Because they're just
Mm-hmm,
you go
mm-hmm.
in and then that's the thing, and then it's like, all right, well, there's another cave over here. I gotta go spend some time in there, and everyone's just like running around, poking their heads in. Anything new? Okay, cool. I'm gonna just go
Yeah,
check this one. You know, some
exactly.
people are, oh, it's the same
Anything
people
new?
in there.
Ow, Alex, ow, man, you're fucking. Are you speaking to my neuroses right there? Anything new? Exactly what I'm looking for. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true, and this is what I mean. Is it's just like and honestly, I'm seeing it with this. I'm seeing it with this event as well because honestly, there's this like absolute hoop jumping that you need to do with people to get them to like actually think that like something outside of their current awareness could be a benefit to the thing that they're currently focused on. Like it's
Uh
because
huh.
everyone is like, I'm
Oh
so
yeah.
busy with this stuff that's in front of me and these problems I'm facing, and gotta go
Yes.
like raise investment or attract these people, do
Exactly.
this, da, da, da. And
Two
then
hands on the problem. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, big time, big time. And then like I'm like, hey, I've got to, I can help you. This is gonna, we're gonna do this together. We're gonna come up with this whole thing. It's gonna point to your stuff. It's gonna have this. You're gonna have like content that you can go and share with people. You're gonna have this like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
group sort of media space where you're able to
Exactly.
explore this privacy and transparency and welcome people into
Right.
your home and do all this. But it's just like I can't get through that sort of piece anyway because most of the time, it's just like I'm just so busy on this thing, and then they
Mm-hmm.
see some other opportunity and. Do you know what I mean? It's like you really have to kind
Right.
of go in there in the beginning and kind of know, okay, what's what's
Word.
your issues? What are you thinking about right now? What's the problems
Mm-hmm.
I can help you solve? And come in that way because
Yep.
otherwise it's just like
Exactly.
it's blinders.
Yeah. But this is the why. Okay, so there's a particular polarity that I think you're describing here.
Mm,
And one is like the desire to create the metastructure that
mm,
enables the cross ecosystem communication, right?
mm, mm,
To help organize the and help organize the flow so that the
mm,
information and energy can like
mm,
move with lower friction. Like, if
mm,
we can do that, we win. Like, if we
mm,
create just the like, if we just create
mm.
less friction between
Yeah,
us than exists between market forces,
yeah,
then people are automatically incentivized to be in the environment that makes it easier to bring around their shit.
yeah.
So for sure.
Mm-hmm,
And you know, one, and to bring people into that is like, a well, we need that like yesterday. like
mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
really, like, the
Yeah,
planet needs that like yesterday. Like,
yeah.
holy
At
shit.
least show some
Like, we need,
progress. At least show some progress. It's like
like, I don't care
Good
about your
stuff.
carbon credits. We need like planetary scale fucking water harvesting everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, okay, so there's an urgency and a like expansiveness, a desire to like this thing must happen.
Mm, mm,
But
mm,
there's also, I think, the flip side is what you're talking about is as slow as we can.
mm,
Like as slow as we can tolerate is how it actually needs to grow. Because if we keep running around in the breathlessness of
mm, mm.
too hands on problem and
Right.
too busy to do
Mm,
the thing, like then like also from the perspective of like complex adaptive systems,
mm,
the blueprint of that is probe, sense, and respond, right? It's an exploratory drive
mm,
filled with curiosity, and
mm.
that requires slack in your fucking schedule.
True.
That requires time to slow the fuck down and reflect
Right.
on how the fuck is this thing going, so
Yeah.
that I can improve it and try and do something different.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I think what you're pointing at is also that aspect of like, all right, how do we slow ourselves and each other down enough
Yeah.
so that we can actually do the thing.
Right. Well, exactly. And this is why I feel really strongly about that this format of a residency being so perfect for that, because it kind of merges that aspect of a retreat, and you can, and you can make sure that there's time scheduled in there for people to hold on to whatever of their previous commitments if
Right.
they need to, but then you're kind of like you're sort of pulling it in its kind of excitement
Mm-hmm.
and beauty to be like, oh, actually, oh, this could work. Oh, I see how my vision
Mm-hmm.
can fit into this thing now, and
Word,
like,
word,
and I think there's
word.
also a philosophical like element of it as well, where it's this kind of lens, like you're also removing that lens of separation where you're not attaching yourself and your identity so much to the thing that you're committed to, and you're instead
Mm-hmm.
seeing it as like part of a naturally evolving ecosystem of things that are all
Mm.
designed to be or should really be connecting into each other and fitting into each other
Word.
like puzzle pieces. And then you're trying to
Yeah.
just allow something to come rather than you're trying to be like forcing it into the thing. You can actually be like, okay, what's the situational awareness rather than just like
Mm-hmm.
focusing in and being like, okay, there's this bit over here. There's these people. Okay, now I'm actually imagining how this thing is going to grow,
Yep.
and now I'm able to like welcome things in because I'm actually I'm able to sort of think a bit further ahead and kind of pull things in and tend to it a bit more.
Yeah. I think what you're talking about, and this is why I think we'll so also come to the
Mm.
play drive.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's what we're talking about is an enabling constraint, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the constraint is like live to fucking basically be with each other 24/7, more or
Mm.
less,
Right.
for an extended period of time,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can use the container of that togetherness in order
Mm-hmm.
to like prime for serendipity. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we're here all like maximally interested in if not the same thing, like the most overlappy cross section of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
With like super high degrees of resonance.
Mm-hmm.
And so can we be together long enough for us to do the refactoring of each other's jargon, so that
Mm-hmm.
we can go through the jingles and jangles?
Mm-hmm.
When I say this, I mean this, and
Uh-huh.
just because we're using the same word doesn't mean we're talking about the same shit.
Right.
And to
Uh-huh.
also disambiguate all the stuff that and synchronize as well. Why are we using two
Yeah.
different terms when we're both
Yeah.
clearly talking about this thing right here?
Yeah. Let's
So
come up with a term for
yeah,
that specific thing. Yeah. Yeah. So then you're,
yeah. Well,
yeah, because it's almost like thinking about it like a field or an industry, because I know that there were people from there's a big group from the emerge crowd that were thinking about like how do we turn this concept of metamodernism into more of a field, which is kind of like, and
mm-hmm,
I kind of get that, where it's like, okay, it has its own way of speaking about things, its own etymology, it's also got its own like
sure,
certain feel to it. But I guess the way I look at it is more about like how do you think about it like like a startup ecosystem, or even if as if
mm-hmm,
you were like a sort of um combined venture fund, if you like, that's able to just like
Right.
facilitate all of these projects, but just kind of nudge them together a bit and be like, you got to work with this one. Like, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
talk to these guys, and like, and almost just do the sort of facilitation, because I think it's
Right.
also about like just being able to lean on each other, where
Yeah.
you have to, you're sort of incentivized to ask for help on something, and you're relying
Word.
on them to do something for you before you
Yeah.
can do your thing. So then you're like both co-incentivized to make sure that you guys are both doing the thing that you say you want to do, because that's
Yeah.
how it works in a
Well, this is
company.
yeah, yeah. Well, this is the tricky part as well, right? Because we're so if I just think about like
Mm,
my foibles, right?
mm, mm,
So my foible, the thing that is like the not the portion of my character that on one hand is like super passive adaptive past adaptive,
mhm,
right? So the pattern that got me here, but I'm definitely going to have to grow out of,
mm,
is that hyper, the you sort of mentioned the individualism, like the hyper self-reliance, right?
mhm,
The notion of, I just let me just fucking reinvent and build fucking everything my own goddamn self, because then
mhm.
I know how it works from in all the nooks and crannies. And the way in which that avoids like a particular type or quality of fucking, um, I don't want to say intimacy, but that's the word that's
Mm,
there, right? That is like, all right, then, I'm going to lean all the way into
mm,
like really needing you in order to do this shit.
mm,
And that
mm.
scares the fuck out of me
All
because,
right.
the way
Mm.
you do it might disappoint me. I might be
Yeah, right.
frustrated. I might not get the thing that I want,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
that shit is that, that collaboration, like, increases the lift, like the ability to lift it together.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly, exactly. And knowing like it's also being able to, you have to really develop a sense of trust of the other person, that of like of really recognizing their perspectives on it. Like when you're co-owning something, then it
Mm-hmm.
changes how you then interact with it. You're not just going in there being like, yeah, I would do it slightly like this, or I would do it slightly like this. You're like you're passionately like involved in something and want it to
Right.
work. And I think that's the kind of, if we're able to get that energy not only with our projects but also with each other, I think that's also then gonna
Mm.
like enable this whole being super honest with each other. Because realistically, if you're actually really committed to the mission that somebody else that you really admire is committed to, and then you see that they've got some
Mm-hmm.
personality trait that's just going to fuck it up along the way, then it's kind of your duty to point that out and help them sort
Word.
it out, and just
Exactly.
constantly poke at it until they, and like push them to go forward with it,
Right. Yeah, exactly. And in this particular capacity, I go, oh man, we ain't ready. Like,
Mm. Yeah,
that's
right.
what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like, and this is why I go. Like, this is why, like, as slow as we fucking can, because
Uh-huh.
in for real, like,
Uh-huh.
like there are fucking conversations
Uh-huh.
that, like, everybody knows needs to be had, right? But, like, we're not fucking ready to actually, like, we do this lip service about holding each other to account, blah
Uh-huh.
blah blah.
Uh-huh.
But like when it actually comes to like, bro, like that shit you're doing, like you said, it jeopardizes, maybe not the mission, but it jeopardizes my ability to trust you. Like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
that's
Yeah.
whoo whoo whoo. Like, I don't see a lot of brave spaces for that one
No,
quite
that's
yet.
true. That's true. And with the incentives aren't there, just like the incentives aren't there to do
Mm-hmm.
to push through that conflict and difficulty when collaboration, gets difficult, is because like if you were in the container of the corporation or the market forces, then you don't have a fucking choice. You have to figure it out with the person. You know what I mean? You just gotta like, well, we haven't come to a deal and this thing has been fucked up. And yeah, we know that we've got to be able to figure our way out of it. So we're just gonna have to stick through it. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
we don't
Mm-hmm.
have that motivation, same way we don't have the motivation to go through the difficult thing of like supporting somebody or telling them that their project sucks. You know what I mean? If we're just like, hey,
Right.
you know what? We're like, this is partly why I'm in that sort of realm of paradigm change, because I'm like, if once we change our whole mindset of this, fucking loads of projects are gonna be like, oh fuck, it's actually not gonna work. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah,
because
exactly.
you're just
Oh,
not even.
actually, wait a minute. Hold on. I think the core of my project is actually neo-colonialism. I think I'm just trying. Oh shit. Oh shit.
Oh damn.
Well,
Oh, they were right.
fuck.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been trying to. Everybody mentioned it, and I didn't want to hear it. But
Yeah, right.
now that I really do look at it, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is so
I
like
mean,
like
the amount of resistance that is going to be around that, you know what I mean? Like,
oh man, oh man, I'm looking
oh,
forward
it's
to the opportunity.
yeah,
Like let's come clean, guys. I know we really want to do this planet thing, but like, let's be honest. We also want to be rich too, huh? Yeah, you. I mean, yeah, I know. Like we're
yeah.
it's
I mean, in some
it's
ways,
out
like
there,
I kind of want that to be the case. Like, I want it to be, you if we can get it to the point where like, the coolest fucking thing you can be doing is in alignment with saving the planet and like doing the best for the most
word.
amount of people completely altruistically,
Hmm.
and like women will absolutely fall over each other to fuck you because you're doing that,
Yeah,
and there's some
word.
means of
Yeah,
like being able to validate that in a way that sort of like, just kind of takes the monkey hierarchy brain and just kind of plants it onto like,
yep.
okay, well, realistically, yeah, if you can figure this problem out and you can help, you can work together, then yeah, you will
Hmm.
make your life better. Like, you're not going to be able to go around on
Right,
big mega yachts, but like you'll definitely have a lot
right,
of access to cool shit, and people are going to like you. You know what I mean? And
right.
what more do you want?
Exactly. Everybody's gonna think you're a fucking man.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. But in all seriousness, like this is a very much one of the memes that I've been playing around with for like the last year is that we need to bring capitalism to heel, right?
Uh-huh.
As if it were, as a play on words, as if
We've
it
got to
were
be the
both a
daddy.
rabid
We've
dog,
got
you know,
to. Yeah,
you know,
right. Okay.
as if, you know,
Great.
because it is. It's a fucking rabid dog. We have to bring it to heel.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
your
It's
lane,
like
not
this.
over there. This is
Yeah,
your lane.
true. We've got to tame
And
Moloch. We've got to like fucking
word,
put it in a thing, put it on a leash,
exactly. All right.
get that bitch
Well,
under our
and
control. Hmm.
yes, get that bitch under our control for sure. And also bring it to heel, right?
Yeah,
At
right.
the point of which we could take all of that, all of the fucking I mean, from one perspective, like there's genius in that distributed coordination that
Hmm.
happens in the
Yeah.
marketplace,
Right,
right?
right, right. Exactly.
And if we
Yeah.
could put all of that genius to the task of regenerating the planet, I think I think we could fucking pull it off, and
Yeah,
probably inside of a generation in
totally.
actuality.
Yeah, fully,
Um,
fully.
you know, a couple, hands down. Like,
Hey man,
but
I'm super
uh,
optimistic on the timeline. My whole thing is like momentum. It's like if we, because it's like slow, yeah, slow as we need to at first, but then if you're able to just like
mhm,
have the momentum be the thing that is the incentivizing activity, it's like the
mhm,
the piece that sort of
yep,
is the forcing function that kind of gets you in the sort of like, and that's where I feel like that's like a kind of signal attractor and focusing on the cultural
word,
attract a point that will just like be constantly kind of bringing people in. You're playing with the membrane there in terms of like, okay, how
mhm,
how how does somebody come into it? How do you then
right. How do you
constantly
get
kind
in
of,
the bubble?
yeah, exactly, and just
Mhm,
play with that thing, but always be moving so that you're constantly having to figure these things out on greater scales.
yep,
Then it can shift things, I think, because once people get into a different mode of like working together, and there's a kind of pressure cooker of needing to collaborate and being in that sort of zone,
mhm,
then so much more compounds on it, because suddenly people believe so much is possible, and
for
then
sure.
it's like it's a real feedback loop.
No doubt. And this is why this thing in jest, but it's for me, it's about reducing the friction, right? If
Yeah.
the friction of our collaboration is
Yeah.
lower than, because like look, the marketplace, the entire innovation of money is a social technology, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Money is just one of, like most of culture, it's just a tool that helps us move from possibility
Mm-hmm.
to actuality, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a
You
good way
know,
of putting
to
it. Yeah.
dream up, this is a potential, and how do we bring it to actualization?
Mm-hmm.
All of global finance within that lens
Mm-hmm.
exists as basically to reduce the risk that we invest our time and energy in
Mm-hmm.
possibilities that don't make it past the point
Right.
and become actualization.
That's
So
speculation. Mm-hmm.
well, that is both speculation in the form of well, it's hedging, right?
I see what you mean. Yeah, it's
In the
both. Yeah, 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 yeah.
it's both sides of it, right?
Right.
People are trying to reduce their risk, and other people are trying to figure out which risks are the right ones to take,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Which risks are lower than people are afraid of, so to
Mm,
speak.
mm.
And so if we can turn our collective hive mind, right,
Mm-hmm.
the planetary brain, like if we can turn that into a an engine that is more effective of moving possibilities into actualization,
Mm.
then all the capital in the world flows to this new
Yeah.
space, because
Right.
it's just a more effective way of realizing possibility.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's all the marketplace wants. The marketplace
Yeah.
just wants to know, hey,
Wants more
the thing that
efficiency.
you say, well, I mean, yeah, more efficiency, more predictability, right? It just wants, it
True.
just, it just,
Mm.
it wants more reliability, right?
Yeah,
It
reliability.
doesn't
That's good. Yeah.
actually, it doesn't actually have to be efficient. It just needs to
Mm-hmm.
be effective, right?
Yes.
if you can
Right.
if you can put up that dot on the fucking horizon and consistently fucking knock it down, you're the
Yeah.
most effective player. The market will fucking reward you for that.
Right.
So
That's true.
as that trench coat totem pole, right,
Yeah.
as that thing, if we can become that more effective version of realizing actualities, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really matter almost which ones we tackle, just the fact that we are effective,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. Completely.
So if we can reduce that friction, man, I think
Mm.
we could just become continuously more effective, and
Right.
then then
Totally.
at some point the world is ours.
And then it
And
works. Yeah.
there's the colonization, like slipping in. Oh, the world is ours.
Well, I mean, in some ways, it needs if you're gonna tame Moloch, you're gonna have something that like can be as big as it, or at least like can wrap itself
Mm,
around it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't necessarily need to be some centrally coordinated
word.
thing, but it needs to scale beyond just the small
Mm,
self-organized whatever. Like that's the thing, is that like, yeah, the future already
word.
exists in like our different sort of cultural, like people already have the right understandings of the world, people already are working on different bits of the, but it's just like being able to bring it together in that
No doubt.
way and make it so that it flows
Exactly.
is the really tricky thing. Because you're right, like I think seeing it as this sense of it being a puzzle that is almost like perfectly set,
Mm,
where you're actually, it's, if something isn't fitting, there's a way in which, like, or there's something that will fit literally perfectly, like that
yeah,
to me is the
totally.
philosophy that I'm kind of looking for, is like,
Yeah.
or at least I'm holding and trying to spread to the masses, is like,
Yeah.
is that you're already playing the role, the thing is already happening, you're playing the
Mm-hmm.
puzzle game of like being able to sort of be like, what is this, and then when it works, you'll know, and you can be
Yeah.
guided there as well. It's like there's all these
Mm-hmm.
there's all these like fucking deep magic shit that once you start bringing this into play, and you start recognizing that, oh fuck, like we're in a it's it
Exactly.
is it is similar to a simulation, because you can kind of prompt it and you can kind of manifest things from being able to believe that something will
Mm.
come in, and being appreciative of what's there, and having this situation where all this kind of stuff is the thing I want to play with in the residency, is getting people into this mode of like being able to see, like, trust each other, trust yourself, feel into what's coming through you, be able to
Uh,
share what's coming up, trying to find the see that everyone is bringing a certain piece, and those pieces are going to fit together in a really kind of perfect way,
right?
then you start to be like, ah, yeah, okay, cool. Oh, actually, like
So
we could totally do this
anything
in
is
multiple
possible.
scales. Yeah,
Anything actually is possible. Oh shit! If I can just like imagine myself into the sensation of how dope would that be?
right.
Like, oh well,
Yeah,
that's actually 80% there. Fuck.
yeah,
Oh,
fully,
how
fully.
remarkable does that become? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
big time.
So yeah, fucking for real, get into the vibe, man. Get
Yeah.
into the vibe.
That's absolutely it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's trying to, and that's where the aspect of world alchemy is to me that central piece of like trying to develop that great attractor is that you're intending to pull in all of the different pieces at least up until a point in which it can then be pulling
Mm-hmm.
in the other pieces. So you're almost just like creating the puzzle from somewhere and then being okay, what are all the bits that
Right.
we know fit, and how do we then develop a world, like
Mm.
actually try and imagine how these things could fit together, how we could take people into that. And just so that you get to a place where it's a feeling where it just goes like, oh yeah, it could be that. It could be that easy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why? Yeah, you're starting to see it. And then from there, the rest of the pieces will come together. Everyone else will be
Right.
like, oh, actually, we could have this, and you have like something that
Mm-hmm.
is almost like this big shared marketing, where everyone is just like incentivized to chip in and be like and add their thing to the piece because they're like,
Right.
oh, I want to be in this world as well. Like
Yeah,
I've got a
fucking
project.
stone soup, right?
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
you gotta figure out
stone
how it
soup,
fits, and
man.
then you need to work together. You gotta
Oh,
now negotiate with other people of like, all right, well, how is this gonna work? How is this bit gonna fit in there? It's like, well, we need to have
I
this.
mean,
Okay, who's working on that?
it's I don't know, man. It's I recognize like the sense of like what is it like the optimism slash hubris because I think
Right,
like I mean
it's
like
definitely
from a
there.
like from a perspective of like it is it makes there's so much diversity in terms of like possibility and skill and place and availability of resources. Like, so all of the stuff is out there.
Mm-hmm.
This we know,
Mm-hmm.
like, hands down. Like, there's more than enough people that want to do
Right.
the work. There's more
Yeah.
than enough talent that has the skill. There's
Totally.
more than enough equipment and fucking resources to do all of the things.
Mm.
It's just a question of A, how do we identify the fucking things that are actually worth doing? like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not because, like, right now we're primarily moded on